you
did.
put on the shorts that you gave Jeff from.
Well, you know what? It was a good look. I figured I should, give it another chance.
They look like boxers.
It could be, but it's actually a bathing suit. And it's bathing suit weather for us here. It's Friday, and
You're going down to HR right after this. That's it. I'm reporting.
I've been asking for it. Go ahead, do it. I think you shouldn't have encouraged me like this. All right, let's show you what we have out there. First of all, we have it's Friday. We have a little fun around here. We're ready for the weekend. It's not too humid. It is plenty sunny out there. In fact, our temperatures are a little bit above normal for you today, but tomorrow they drop, and they're going to stay down a little bit for you. And then as we get into Sunday and Monday, now we're talking about not just cooler temps, but showers and storms making a comeback. But right now, yes, we do have a partly cloudy to mainly clear sky. There were some showers over South Jersey early this morning. That didn't even make it to the ground. We've got 81 in Newark, 77 degrees out at Central Park, and 75 in White Plains, with a dew point sitting in the upper 60s to low 70s. That's still a pretty comfortable range, and a light north wind is keeping us dry and mild out there. So when it comes to showers and so on, not really a problem. We have a front down to the south of us, but it looks like it's going to stay there and keep the showers out of the picture until we get to late Sunday into Monday. Then we have showers and storms making a comeback at that time. That means Sunday night into Monday, it could be pretty sloppy for us, so be ready for a slow Monday morning commute. And Good Day will be right back.
Lord. Anyway, I don't know what to say. I'm distracted. But let's talk about Usher for a second. Usher actually opened up the doors to his multi-million-dollar mansion for all of us to see. Check this out.
A home is every version of yourself learning how to live together. All the triumphs, all the failures, all the love, all the scars, all the songs existing under one roof.
Okay, interesting. Usher invited Architectural Digest and you inside his home in Atlanta for a look at how he lives. The home is filled with art that he has collected, mementos from his career. The house features a hookah lounge, a golf simulator room, barbershop, basketball court, yoga deck. I guess he must have a recording studio too, right?
Sure, it's Usher.
It's Usher.
And he's got friends.
He got plenty of room.
Friends.
He got plenty of room.
Yeah, in a hookah bar.
A hookah bar. By the way, have you been hitting the hookah?
A special hookah to get dressed like this? Well, I mean,
wait,
it is
let
Friday.
me just ask you something.
Yo.
I know there's a Mike, Where's Mike shirt.
Yeah, it's right here.
Did you, change the Where's Mike?
We might have made a little modification here for this Where's Mike. I mean, who needs sleeves? I mean, it is Mike Woods. And if you want to win one, you could actually do it yourself.
Okay, how do we get one of these shirts?
I'm going on location right now. You got to watch the show.
Can you give me a hint?
And you scan that QR code and you upload your name and you might win this T-shirt. You can modify it as you will.
You're not going anywhere. You're going down to HR with me. Have a good day, New York. We appreciate you. Get out.
All right.
All right, Newsroom Live. It is 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday. It is August 14th. We appreciate you joining us. Newsroom Live, taking a look at our big board here. These are some of our video elements that are coming in all throughout the area. And I want to draw your attention to those top three boxes, ELC1, ELC2, ELC4. Those images all coming from Lower Manhattan, because today it is a big day, a major development in Luigi Mangione's criminal case. The man accused of killing UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson expected to plead guilty to federal charges in Manhattan. I'm Dan Bowens. Thank you so much for joining us here at Newsroom Live. What we like to do is bring you things as they happen, as they unfold here in the city. And we are expecting that there will be this update. This plea will happen at some point in the next 2 hours. And when it does, we will have the very latest information and we will bring it to you live. We also want to tell you about some other things that are happening in the city, because we do have some breaking news right now. We're going to go down to Lower Manhattan, and Robert Moses, he's with an attorney who's going to help break down some of the legal steps that are going to happen with this case. But we have breaking news. We have a shooting right next to Central Park. Let's take a look at this video. This happened in a heavily traveled area of the Upper West Side along Central Park West near West 70th Street. It's a neighborhood, of course, filled with apartment buildings, businesses, museums, major tourist attractions. Central Park directly across the street, so there is often a steady flow of pedestrians and visitors and people heading to work or school right there along Central Park West. Police say the incident began with some kind of argument between one guy and another guy, and that argument at some point turned physical. You can see the investigators on scene there, that crime scene tape, those NYPD vehicles. No one was hit, and police say at this point, interestingly enough, there's no known property damage. It's significant because of the location and the number of people. It does look like someone has been taken into custody. The possible charges here still unclear, but just to put this in context, this is a shooting right next to Central Park on Central Park West, the Upper West Side. The images just coming in from Skyfox. So when we get an update about that, we will let you know. Of course, the other big story of the day, what is happening in Lower Manhattan. And when we get an update about what happens with Luigi Mangione, we will let you know. The biggest question may be what this potential guilty plea means for the separate murder case that he is now facing in New York State. Mangione's attorneys are expected to argue that the state case should be dismissed under double jeopardy protections. Here's what we're expecting today. Mangione is expected to appear in federal court in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan. Two people familiar with the matter have told Fox News, have told the Associated Press, have told the New York Times, so plenty of sources reporting this, that he is expected to plead guilty to unspecified charges. The charges currently include 2 counts of stalking, resulting in death. Those charges carry a possible maximum sentence of life in prison. The exact terms of any plea agreement are not yet clear. Now, Mangione could still change his mind. That's a key thing here. Even though these reports came out, and as of yesterday, it appeared all indications are that he does intend to enter this plea, there's still the possibility that at the last minute, somehow, some way, he could change his mind. We don't think that's going to happen, but it certainly is a possibility. Now, Mangione is expected in the courtroom when this happens. The judge would have to confirm that Mangione understands the charges, the potential penalties, and the rights he is giving up by pleading guilty. Now, if you remember, he was arrested with the December 2024 shooting death of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Midtown Manhattan. Now, prosecutors allege Thompson was targeted as Mangione traveled to New York. And that, can we go back to that surveillance, those surveillance images? Because this is all we had in the early days, this mysterious figure who'd shot this man in the back. I remember I was out there on that morning in December. It was a frigid, cold morning, and it was very early. And there were people who were out there who said it appeared that the shooter, whoever that person was, at that point unidentified, had been waiting outside of that building where the UnitedHealthcare CEO was eventually shot. So in some ways, the investigators knew that this was some type of premeditated action even before they got to the heart of the investigation. So it didn't look like it was a robbery or anything like that. And then, of course, this massive manhunt unfolded, and eventually it led them to Luigi Mangione. Go back a second, just if we can. That image right there, this one right here, that one right there is an image that was taken at a youth hostel. This image right here became a critical piece of this case because it was just in that instant that this person who they believed was responsible pulled their mask down and, in a sense, flirted with a woman who was at the counter of the youth hostel where that person was staying. That gave investigators a clear picture of what potentially the suspect looked like. And then scroll forward a little bit on this video if we can. This is the image that we see in the back of a squad car after arrested. And then pause it right here. This is the image of Luigi Mangione at the McDonald's, or who's supposed to be Luigi Mangione at the McDonald's after they eventually did this search. This is at actually a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. Someone had a suspicious feeling about this individual in the back. They thought maybe not, this could be the person that they were looking for. They started to put some of those things together, and eventually it led them to the man they believe is responsible for the killing of Brian Thompson. Of course, this case became so high profile because of not only the way the shooter carried out this incident, but because of who was killed here. The UnitedHealthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, of course, a major figure in the healthcare industry, and the healthcare industry itself became a major focus of this case because prosecutors allege that Luigi Mangione carried out this shooting because he had a problem and wanted to draw attention to the inequities within the healthcare system. All right, so we want to bring in Peter Frankel, if we can. Peter Frankel, defense attorney, criminal attorney, not associated with this case, right? Okay. So today, we know that there will be this hearing that will happen. Right. The possibility of the guilty plea will be given. What are your expectations with what's going to happen this morning?
So my expectation is based not only on the emergency nature of the request, both by the government and the defense for this hearing, coupled with the fact that there's a state trial, which is scheduled in a few weeks, right, that there will in fact be a plea. There really would be no other reason to have this hearing, although I should also say that while it's an emergency in the sense that it was done very quickly, I think this move that is attributed to the defense was probably contemplated a long time ago, because part of the reason for it is to try to trigger a double jeopardy claim, which would at very least postpone the state trial, if not completely bar it.
And so that's the key focus there, the double jeopardy, because even though there are different charges in federal court, which are the stalking charges, which theoretically could still land you a life sentence, stalking that results in death, that's different than the murder charges specifically that he's facing in state court. All of it, though, related to the same crime. And so in that sense, if you plead guilty to one, then New York has these strict double jeopardy laws, which you could argue, and the defense is expected to argue, would say the state case has to go away.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. The issue here is it's not an exact fit. So the elements that need to be proven in federal court differ in some degree to what needs to be proven in state court.
Okay.
However, there are more elements that need to be proven in federal court, and the defense team for Mr. Mangione will argue that that plea, which I think will be to the stalking resulting in death, encompasses the murder too, intentional murder charge in state court. So it's going to be up to Judge Caro, who's a very experienced...
That's the state side.
That's the state side judge to make a determination if in fact there's a plea today. But I think based on precedent, it's likely that the state prosecution will will be barred.
And so here we have this. It's expected to start in about 50 minutes. We're going to take a break here. But when we come back, I want to talk about sort of what theoretically could be at stake, not just for the defense team, but also for the prosecutors and even Alvin Bragg's office within the Manhattan District Attorney, the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, because everybody wants to move forward with their case. So
they're not happy. I can guarantee you that.
They're not happy. All right. Well, we're just getting started here. Our coverage of what's happening in Lower Manhattan. Luigi Mangione, again, expected to enter this guilty plea at some point, possibly in the next hour or so, joined by defense attorney Peter Frankel. We'll have much more. We take a break, and we'll be right back. All right, Newsroom Live, welcome back. It is just about 10:11 here on this Friday morning. We are tracking what's happening down there in Lower Manhattan. You can see we have cameras at all angles. If we can jump up to our big board just for a second, Gab. So I want to send your attention to ELC2 because that is where our reporter, Robert Moses, is on the scene this morning. And he's following everything. He's also down there with an legal expert who's going to help break down some of the key elements that we need to know. Robert, what is going on down there?
All right, Dan, so we are now less than an hour away from a very consequential hearing here at federal court in Lower Manhattan. And joining me to talk about it is a longtime criminal defense attorney, Dante Mills. Dante, thank you for taking a couple minutes this morning. I want to start just with an overview. What do you expect to unfold inside the courtroom later this morning?
Yes, it's craziness happening right now. This kind of sprung on the nation. Everybody was paying attention to this case. We expected that the next big thing would be the state case in New York on September 8th. But they requested this conference with the federal court judge, and the conference was given right away. What we expect this to be about is a sentencing plea deal. We expect that Luigi Mangione is going to accept a plea. What we want to know is what is he getting in exchange for that? We know in criminal cases, there's no certainty for any prosecutor, even if they think they have a strong case. In this type of case, you want to make sure you get a conviction. That's why the prosecutors will offer a plea deal. But as a defense attorney, I'm thinking, what's the icing on the cake? Why would I make my client or direct my client or advise my client to take this deal? Is it because at some point he'll have the ability to come home, where if he's found guilty, he would get life without the possibility of parole in state court or a full life sentence here in federal court? Is he taking that deal because he's going to get a year sentence, like 30 years or 35 years, where at the end of that sentence, he actually can be a free man again? He's only 28 years old. So if that's the case, I would incentivize my client to take this deal if in 30 years, when he's close to 60, he'll still have the opportunity to come out and see the light of day.
And just to underline something you said, there is a mandatory life sentence if he is convicted in state court. There is not a mandatory life sentence if he's convicted here in federal court. That would be one advantage to taking a plea deal here to head off the state case.
Absolutely. And we have to remember, in the federal court case, the death penalty was actually on the table, but the judge threw out the charges that were related to that death penalty or made this case death penalty eligible. So the death penalty is gone. The maximum sentence that he could get is life in prison. If he's accepting a plea deal, you would assume it's for less than the maximum sentence. So we're talking about a certain amount of years where he completes that sentence and then has the ability to come home. New York State doesn't have the death penalty. So if he went into New York State court and was found guilty, yes, the more than likely he would be in jail for the rest of his life without the possibility of parole. The only other option or reason I can think he would accept a plea deal here in in federal court, is because the federal prison system is better than the state prison system. He may be listening to his lawyers who says they got you, right? They have enough evidence. The gun came in on the state court. Some of his journal that was found in his book bag, all of that stuff came in. They're going to find you guilty. Do you want to do your prison time in a federal system where it's cleaner, the facilities are better, you have more programs available to you, there's certifications you can get to help the time pass faster, the food is better? Or do you want to wait, roll the dice in state court, and maybe have to serve the rest of your time, the rest of your life in a state penitentiary, which is going to be worse conditions than the federal state prison?
Do you buy the double jeopardy argument that his attorneys are making, that this would amount to double jeopardy if he pleads guilty here today and then were to face trial in state court? Is that double jeopardy in your mind?
It's a very interesting thing. And with the law, there's always gray areas. That's what makes it so appealing to a lot of people, including myself, because you have to find loopholes or see what applies. In this case, when we talk about double jeopardy, the standard rule is you cannot be found guilty or prosecuted and found guilty for the same crime, the nature of the crime. It doesn't have to be named the same thing. We know in federal court, he's charged with stalking that led to murder. In federal court. In state court, he's charged with murder. So it's different crimes technically.
Same underlying
event. Would it qualify for double jeopardy? I believe it would, because the state law here says that you can't be prosecuted for the same crime. What New York could do, though, they could look for criminal activity outside of the murder. So not what happened in front of the Hilton, but maybe what happened at the hostel. He checked into the hostel under a false name. He had a weapon at the hostel. Could they go after him for crimes that only the New York State would have jurisdiction over, that's not included in these federal charges, simply because New York wants to prosecute him because he came into their state and committed a crime? They want to make a statement. We understand all the pomp and circumstance that was surrounding this. There was fear in New York because he disappeared afterwards. People didn't know what was going to happen, if he was going to commit more crimes, if more people were in danger. When he was caught in Pennsylvania, they brought him back here in a helicopter. The mayor was there waiting for him. So does New York State want to make a statement here and say, even if you accept responsibility for the murder, we're going to find a way to prosecute you for something else, just so it's clear if you come to New York, you're going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law?
We expect Luigi Mangione to speak today, right? That's called allocution.
Yes.
Explain that process. And are we going to hear him say yes or no, or are we going to hear more of a detailed account of exactly what he's pleading guilty to?
It depends on the type of plea. So sometimes when I'm negotiating the plea with the federal prosecutors, we include in there a statement that my client reads where he acknowledges responsibility or guilt. One thing that we know for sure is he's going to have to acknowledge guilt, or the judge won't accept his plea deal. You can't walk into the court, say I'm going to take a plea, and don't say I actually committed the crime. You have to at some point acknowledge you committed the crime. Will that be a straight yes? You know, they read the charge and he says, I did that. Will he have to describe some things he did about the stalking? Because remember, federal court has jurisdiction because he stalked Thompson from one state to another. Will he have to say, I actually stalked him from this state or this location to New York in order to qualify for that plea deal? Will he have to acknowledge the killing or describe how he did the killing? That's possibilities here. We don't know how much the judge is going to require him when he's acknowledging his guilt, but for a fact, he's going to have to affirmatively say, I committed this crime. That can come back to bite him, though, because we just talked about double jeopardy. If he loses that argument and they still move forward with the state case, now you have a court record where he acknowledges this killing. That means essentially he's acknowledging responsibility in that state trial as well.
Exceedingly interesting. I could ask you about 100 more questions. We're running out of time. Dante Mills, criminal defense attorney, thank you so much for taking the time. Dan, I'll send it back to you with this hearing to get underway in about 40 minutes from right now.
All right, Robert, thank you very much. And we do have a lot more to get to. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to bring back in defense attorney Peter Frankel to talk a little bit more about exactly what we expect will happen inside that courthouse down there in Lower Manhattan this morning. The details that you should know. We'll be right back.
Nights at 7:30.
All right, we're taking a live look here in Lower Manhattan. It's about 10:22. You can see this podium that has been set up outside of the courthouse. Possibility that after this hearing with Luigi Mangione is over, that some members of the defense team, some members of the prosecution could come out and talk about it. Mangione expected in federal court today, where he could plead guilty to charges connected to killing UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Peter Frankel here, not directly affiliated with the case, but certainly familiar with the proceedings. What are we expecting inside the actual courtroom today if things go as it's predicted to go?
So a plea in federal court is typically a protracted process where the court will directly question the defendant for a lengthy period of time, cover a lot of areas to make certain that the plea that is being offered is knowing, intelligent, voluntary. So there'll be a lot of back and forth between, it could take 45 minutes, sometimes longer.
So in a sense, will it be more so than just, because if you've been to court and you've been a part of these proceedings and there is this guilty plea, sometimes it's as simple as, do you understand the charges against you? Do you agree that this is what you've agreed to? Will it be a little bit more detailed than that, extensive, or is that sort of the nature of what we're looking at?
I think it will honestly likely be what we usually would expect in federal court for a plea. What's a little bit different in this case, and obviously nobody knows what's going to happen, but assuming there's going to be a plea, typically there's a plea agreement between the government and the defense team that is pages and pages, and the defendant has to go through it with his attorney prior to getting to court, has to be signed. I don't expect that we're going to see that here because this is not really a negotiation between the government and Mr. Mangione.
So not necessarily he's not taken a deal in a sense. I mean, it's not that kind of the way that's framed sometimes. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Exactly what I'm saying. And I'm expecting, because there's an indictment, that Mr. Mangione will likely plead guilty to the actual charges in the indictment for a couple of reasons. Number one, and most importantly, he's got to plead guilty to a murder-related count in federal court if he wants to then go to state court and try to trigger a double jeopardy claim. So for that reason alone, I would expect that it's going to be a plea to the top count.
As opposed to sometimes when you have a murder charge, sometimes you plea it down to like a manslaughter charge, and that way there's no trial and everyone can kind of wipe their hands of it. That likely will not be the case in this situation.
That's exactly right. Couldn't have explained it better, yeah.
And so now as we look at this, you know, even before you start to hear this, I kind of hesitate to use the word rivalry, but there certainly was a bit of competition between the state and the federal government to see who would get to go first. And in some ways, the state had kind of won that race because the state trial was expected to begin on September 8th, and the federal case wasn't going to begin until later. And now we're, I mean, as dramatically a flip-flop as you can get in that sense.
That's exactly right. There was early on a lot of arm wrestling going on between the feds and the state with respect to who was going to go first. And to your point, that's because the specter of a potential double jeopardy claim was always looming in the minds of the Manhattan DA's office, because they feared that one day this day could happen where they're going to be staring at the barrel of a double jeopardy claim by the defendant. And remember how much work they put into this, right?
Of course, yes.
This was weeks and weeks of hearings, 20 witnesses. They are very invested in this case. And at one point, Judge Caro, the state judge, said, look, the double jeopardy claim by the defense is premature at this point, but now it's going to be revisited if there's a plea today.
You know, it just sort of strikes me, the nature of the crime here. It's more than just someone who has assassinated someone on the street, because the prosecution has always alleged, and they say the evidence is pretty clear, that the suspect here, Luigi Mangione, carried this act out in a sense as a vigilante justice to draw attention to the healthcare system, to draw attention to the inequities, that the healthcare industry is making too much money, and Brian Thompson is an example of that. And some people had argued that to stay true to that, Mangione would want there to be a trial. So these things could be debated. These things could come out in cable news, and people like yourselves and I would have to kind of talk about whether or not that should be allowed. But if this happens, that'll never happen.
That's an excellent point, because from the inception of this case, there's been zero expression of remorse, right?
Right.
There's been, and these are all factors that when it comes to sentencing, a court is obligated to consider. Now, he's going to presumably take a plea today, in which case he's going to admit his guilt. He's also going to have the opportunity to make a statement before he gets sentenced.
Interesting.
However, this entire time, you know, he's been a little smug. He's offhand comments that he's made from time to time, things of that nature. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
You know, and in that way, it seems like he's listening to his attorneys as opposed to maybe kind of what the overall initiative is going to be. I mean,
well, he's really backed into a corner now.
All right, Peter, we got to take a break. We're approaching 10:30. We're also going to go out to Long Island. Very separate issue, but President Trump is visiting the island today. He's going to be campaigning with Bruce Blakeman, the Nassau County executive. Already some protests that we're seeing. We're getting some live pictures here. We could show the big board here if we can just for a second. I don't know if we can see it over on Live View 7. Anyway, we'll take a break and we'll come back and take a look at that. All right, it is just about 10:30 in the morning here on a Friday. You're looking at some of the video elements that we are tracking here on Newsroom Live. Obviously, the top three that you're looking at there, that is down in Lower Manhattan. We've got a lot of cameras, a lot of resources dedicated to what is happening with Luigi Mangione. We are expecting a guilty plea at some point this morning. The hearing expected in about 30 minutes. But I want to draw your attention now to Live View 7, because this is happening at this very moment. President Donald Trump is expected on Long Island today for a public safety event in Nassau County, but in reality, this is essentially a campaign stop, and what the president hopes will be a campaign boost for Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman. This is an anti-protest. These are folks who are rallying against the president, rallying against Bruce Blakeman. You know what? Let's get a little bit of a feel for what is happening on the ground there. So bring me down. Let's bring it up. I don't know exactly what they're going to say. Hopefully they're using okay language. So let's take a listen. All right, so we can't hear anything there. For some reason, the audio is not there. But Jessica Formoso, where is this happening, Jessica?
So this is in Nassau County, right there by. If I'm gonna just do just the streets by where they are is Endo Boulevard and Perimeter Road by Nassau Community College. There, if you know East Meadow, Garden City area, that's where they are.
Okay.
Just look for those folks who are not from Long Island, because I'm going to say Endo Boulevard and Perimeter Road. You may not know where it is, but it's in that vicinity there. They're close to the police academy, because that is where President Trump will be later today with the county executive, Bruce Blakeman, alongside Bruce Blakeman. So they are protesting just about half a mile down from the academy, from the training academy there.
You live on the island.
I do.
Is this in your neighborhood? Is this practically speaking, and then we'll talk about the politics, but practically speaking, when the president comes to town, there's disruptions.
There are a lot of traffic restrictions. So we are being told that between 1 and 5 p.m., there are going to be street closures in and around Garden City, the towns surrounding it, which is East Meadow, Uniondale, Hempstead. So you're going to see some backup there, probably most likely on the Meadowbrook, around Eisenhower Park. They're probably going to close down those streets. So heavy traffic around that time. We are being told that the president is expected to arrive there around 3 p.m. So we know usually hours before.
It's rush hour.
And then
getting close to rush hour.
Yes, and then rush hour, expect heavy traffic in that area, because as you know, Secret Service at any time will close any street.
Sure will.
And will not give us notice. And we don't know those streets, and it's because of obvious security reasons, so we don't have those exact streets that are going to be closed down. But just keep that in mind.
Let's talk about the politics here. We actually had Bruce Blakeman on Good Day New York not so long ago.
Right.
And one of the reasons we had him on was that, or one of the things that happened when we had him on, he had an internal poll that showed the race essentially neck and neck. And it's like, okay, that's an internal poll. Who knows exactly how that's skewed? But certainly it had given him a little bit of a personal boost. Then this week, we got another poll that showed that Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, the Democrat, has a 10-point advantage. However, that 10-point advantage is about half of what it was previously. So you could make the argument that some significant ground was made up. I mean, what are you hearing just from the politics of this, of what's at stake right now?
Right now. Okay, so what we know, obviously, Trump has been supporting Bruce Blakeman. He endorsed him as his candidate for governor of New York. The question that many have today is him visiting Long Island and being with Bruce, pretty much campaigning for Bruce. Is this going to hurt Bruce's campaign? And by that we say is not just the regular folks of Long Islanders and New Yorkers, but even some Republicans are saying he's not liked. The president is not very popular here in New York. So could this hurt Bruce Blakeman's candidacy for a governor of New York City? That's the big question for today. Governor of New York. Excuse me, not New York City, of New York. But that's the big question today. Could this hurt him? We know that the president was there in 2024, and during the presidential election there, he flipped Long Island right Republican after 2 decades. So we did see the president strong there on Long Island. But could the same thing happen for Bruce Blakeman? Most likely on Long Island, yes, it could.
Possibly.
Right?
Certainly
Most likely, yes.
He
has the following there and the support on Long Island and the suburbs as well. But it's not just New York. It's not just Long Island and some of the suburbs. It's all of the state. So that's the big question.
So Bruce Blakeman, not just on Good Day, but he did an interview recently. What did we hear? What did he actually say?
So he was just there yesterday, and the anchor there did ask him. He was a Fox Business and did ask him that specific question. Some people are saying that this could hurt your campaign, that President Trump will be alongside you tomorrow, and this is what he had to say.
There are a lot of people in New York who disagree with President Trump's policies, but I think they appreciate the fact that they'll have a governor that can pick up the phone and talk to the president and get instant results.
All right, so essentially what he's saying there is that, hey, look, I know the president. The president's coming to campaign for me. Yeah. If New York has a disaster emergency that they need to declare for, or there's some other issue that's going on in New York State that people are very concerned about, I can get the president on the line.
And he can. We know that.
In theory, yes. In theory, yes, you're right. And just sort of larger between Governor Hochul and the Nassau County Executive, Bruce Blakeman. What is she saying about this? Because I don't know. She has sort of obviously put on a face of confidence no matter what is going on with Mayor Zoran Mamdani. She's still appearing at events with him. She certainly distanced herself a little bit on the pied-à-terre tax situation. Right. However, she was with him on a few other events. So it's kind of like she knows she needs Mamdani to bring out New York City. But what's she saying about the president's visit?
So about the president's visit, really the back and forth between Bruce Blakeman, the county executive, and the governor, Kathy Hochul, is crime, right? That's what they've been going back and forth during this campaign for governor, saying pretty much who has the better track record when it comes to the safety of New Yorkers. So she actually put out a statement, and I'm going to read it here because she wrote about the president being on Long Island today, says that she has invested billions of dollars in public safety to protect New Yorkers. So MAGA all the way, Bruce Blakeman is bringing Donald Trump to tour the county where he let violent crime spike to decade highs and Trump's unaccountable ICE agents abuse their power. So clearly she's saying you can bring the president here, but your crime record when it comes to Nassau County is not the best. That said, yesterday, Bruce Blakeman and his police commissioner, Patrick Ryder, had a press conference talking about security for today's event. And the commissioner says that's not true, answering to Kathy Hochul, saying that they have seen significant decrease in crime in Nassau County.
Do we have that statement, Gab? Do we have that on one of the lines there? Okay, it doesn't matter. All right, so let's take a look back again at this live scene that we have right now. So just to put this in context of what's going on, this is the protest that is happening. This is not hundreds of people. This is more in the dozens of people category at this moment. But this is the anti-MAGA, anti-Trump protest that is going on right there. Because if you missed the earlier part of what Jessica Formosa and I were talking about here on Newsroom Live, it is that President Donald Trump will be campaigning with Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, and that will be happening. What time did you say it'll be happening?
At 3 o'clock, we're expecting the president to arrive at the police academy there in Garden City. And this protest here, Dan, we were told that the lieutenant governor candidate, Adrienne Adams, was going to be at this protest here at 10:30 this morning. I have not seen her there. But these residents here are obviously also protesting the high cost of groceries and healthcare and housing. So you do see some of those signs there that's saying, my milk is too high. That's where they're out there protesting as well. This is going to happen throughout the morning here. I'm sure they're going to be out here possibly close enough until the president arrives there at the police academy, which I say this is about half a mile away from where the president will be later today with Bruce Blakeman. The president expected to talk about crime also and highlight the crime record in 2025 last year. And he's going to be there with Todd Blanche, and the FBI director also, Patel, will be joining the president.
All right. Jessica, thank you very much. I don't know, have you seen the little game we play of Where's Mike?
Oh, yes. I'm good at that game, actually.
Are you good?
I am. Can I get that T-shirt?
We do have... sorry. I didn't mean to ignore your question. But wait a minute. Take this down. This is not the right one. Put up the other one. There we go. All right. So let's take a look at the graphic real quick, because we do want people to scan the QR code. Let's see.
Where
scan
is
the
Mike?
QR code. Where's Mike? There he is.
Can I
All right, you can scan it. Okay, so all you got to do is scan that QR code right there. Enter for a chance to win a limited edition Where's Mike t-shirt. Did you see what was on the graphic? Did you see it? Okay, so let's take a look.
No, let me
we
see.
do
It
have,
says
okay,
enter
so
for
we
a
got,
chance to win this graphic right here.
yeah, so we're going to take a break, but I want to take a quick look at Mike Woods because I know he's on the line. Can you bring him up, Gab? Can you bring him up?
Oh, there he is. Okay, wait, I have to guess. Can I play?
Yeah, you can play. We got to go real quick because we do have to go to a break.
He's in Manhattan.
He's okay. Very good guess. That doesn't count.
Okay, Upper Manhattan, inward section of the city.
All right, Mike, are you in the inwood section of the city? And
No.
no, he's not. I think he's muted. So we're gonna go to a break, Mike, and when we come back.
Is he in Grand Central? No, that's not Grand Central.
Well, you can hang out, Jess. We'll take a break and we'll come right back. Thanks, Mike.
Where is he?
All right, welcome back. One of the things that we do like to do here on Newsroom Live is interact with our viewers. So we have that QR code that's right there in the top corner of your screen. That's the one if you want to chime in for what is happening on the broadcast. And we do appreciate it. Some folks have sent us pictures, and we have had a lot of very happy remarks. And this is from Margie Ritchie from Brooklyn. What's up, BK? She says, hi, guys. Happy Friday. I hope to find you, Mike Woods. Oh, yes. I'm looking for you. Okay. All right. Well, Margie, let's grant your wishes here. So let's bring in Mike Woods. If people were watching closely, there was a graphic that popped up that may have had his location. I may have gotten a snippet of that, but Jessica, I know you didn't.
I did not.
So I know you don't have the earpiece, so I'm going to narrate it a little bit. So let's
He's
go
at a public pool.
Let's go Big Mike, Little Dan, and Jess. Big Mike, Little Dan, and Jess. So Mike, there he is. All right. So Mike, give us some clues about where you may be this morning.
Well, this is an Upper East enclave, which we've been to live on Good Day New York, but it was way back in the day. And this is the first time I've been here since probably about 12 to 15 years on the Upper East Side. It's very popular.
Upper East Side, a popular destination.
A lot of folks around.
A lot of people in the
Exactly.
park.
Let me pan it around.
I see a pool
and
there.
show you
Oh,
what's
she
going
sees
on.
a pool, Mike.
I see a pool.
She sees a pool. So what are the pools
There's
up
a
that
pool
way?
in the background and a whole lot of kids out here. It's on
Okay.
the Upper East Side.
So
And
we're
there's
going to go.
lots of things to do.
We're going to go generic guess. You know what? It's not. It's not. What's the one that's right there on the water? Oh man, Forest Greens, not Asphalt Greens. Are you at Asphalt Greens?
Oh, Asphalt Green. Good guess. Good guess.
Are you at Asphalt
No,
Greens?
that's
Yes.
that's not it.
No.
No.
All right,
No,
Mike.
no, nope. Another Upper East Side enclave with all kinds of things going on, including I mean, check it out.
The tennis courts.
We got,
There are tennis courts there too.
Uh-huh.
What park is that?
oh, yeah.
Wait a
Did you
minute.
know that was
That's
here?
the
Oh,
John Jay Park. Oh, Mike Woods, John Jay
Yes.
Park. You got us. You got us real good, Mike.
Exactly.
John Jay Park.
Exactly. This is good stuff. So yeah, just in case you didn't know about John Jay Park, it's here on the Upper East Side, and yeah, we're on 77th and basically the East Side over at the FDR, and it's a cool
77th and
park
FDR.
with like the
Okay.
kiddie
Well, I
playground
mean, I guess it's not
and
Upper
tennis
Manhattan.
courts,
Upper East.
I tried.
and look how popular it is. Don't
Mike-
you love when kids are on that little rope thing?
I do.
Go for it.
Mike, are you allowed? You're not allowed to go in the pool, right? You can't take a dip.
Well,
He had his swimming shorts.
Do you have your swimming trunks on?
I do, and I was real hopeful for that too. As a matter of fact, so
Let's take
I
a
was
stroll to
hoping
the pool.
that was going to happen.
Let's walk to the pool.
Here's the pool. Exactly. I wore my swim trunks just for this. But I just walked up to the powers that be. They told me it doesn't open until 11.
Oh, did you tell them who you
Let me
are?
tell you something. I tried, and the problem is, you know what? I think that actually gets me in trouble because the last time Good Day New York was here,
Uh-oh.
I think we were naughty.
Oh, did you
So-
throw somebody in the pool? Oh, look
There's
at that.
the pool,
That's a nice size
Ooh, It's
pool.
nice. That's beautiful.
right?
That's beautiful. That's a
Right?
beautiful
So-
situation.
At 11 o'clock, you can go there. From 11 to 12. Oh, we can't take pictures.
You can't even take
Okay.
pictures. All right. Mike, you're getting it all
Can't
kinds.
take
Mike,
pictures.
why don't we pivot to the weather forecast
This
before we
is-
get fully thrown out of the park?
Okay. Okay. I know it. You never know. But so let's do the weather forecast. First of all, okay, so there's the 7-day forecast. We got a high temp of 86 degrees for you today. Sunshine is a perfect day to be out in the park here for us here. Sunshine is out, and we're going to have a warm but not too humid day. Looks like we're going to keep our temperatures down in control at about 85, 86 degrees for you today into tomorrow. And actually on links 2 is the graphics that are rolling full for us here. But there we go. All right, so a high of 86 degrees for us today, 84 tomorrow. And then as we head in toward Sunday and Monday, we do have scattered showers and storms that are coming back through the tri-state region. Here's what we got. It's not too humid of a day. Our temperature is getting up to just above normal by about 2 degrees for us here in the tri-state region. So it's warm, and there is a temp drop coming up for us as we get into the weekend. Today's forecast high, 86 degrees. That's what we were doing for you today. The low this morning was 72. We're pretty close to the average, staying well away from the records. And it's a great day to get out there and enjoy some park time, if you will, whatever the case may be, wherever you are. All right, on the radar satellite, there's a cold front to the south of us, and it does look like we have perhaps some showers
Why
in
did he
the
say the
mid-Atlantic
pool isn't
region. But
open?
for us here in the core of the tri-state, no, it's not so bad. We're going to see the showers take about a 2-day break for us, and then we'll see perhaps some more thunder showers make a comeback as we get into later Sunday into Monday, going to the Futurecast here soon enough. And on the Futurecast, we are going to eventually see high pressure kind of hold steady for us here. Right now, as far as temps go, we got 77 Central Park. The dew points are in the upper 50s to low 60s, and the winds generally coming in from the north at around 3 to 7 miles per hour. And yes, we are going to see a warm but not too humid day out there. It's still fairly comfortable. Perfect day for the pool once it opens up. All right, there it is. We're expanding out the radar satellite. And yes, we do have the scattered showers and storms down to the south of us. They will be coming through for us here, but not until later on this evening. And later on Sunday evening, I should say, there it is on the Futurecast. Give us overnight rain Sunday into Monday, and then it gets out of here. Something to keep an eye on in the tropics. There are a couple of tropical disturbances. They are not tropical storms as of yet. But they could become. In fact, there is a 50% chance for the orange shaded zone to have a tropical either depression or storm within it in the next 48 hours. The other one has a 30% chance. Beach and boating forecast for you today. Hey, it's not a bad day. Water temps at 75. UV index is up to 7 for you today. And we are going to see, the storms are taking a break today and tomorrow. So if you're going to the beach, out at the pool, you're in good shape. Put on the sun sauce. You're ready to go. High temp today, 86 degrees, mostly sunny, nice and warm, not too humid. Still dry tonight with a few patchy clouds, but other than that, it's mild. Low drops down to 68. And there's that 7-day forecast. Again, I have 86 today, then 84 tomorrow. And then, yes, we are looking at scattered showers and storms that want to come through for us late Sunday into Monday. And so the Monday morning commute does look like it could be a little messy for us here. as we get into it. And other than that, we are in great shape for you all together. Again, we're out here at John Jay Park, where everyone comes in the neighborhood to play around. Hey, how you doing?
Hey. All right, good job, Mike. Mike, we got to show your graphic.
Around.
We're going to show your graphic one more time. But first, before we do, there's the Mike graphics. If you want to scan that QR code right there, you can scan it. You can enter to win the Where's Mike contest. Limited edition T-shirts. We've had hundreds of submissions, and we are narrowing down the winners, which we should be able to announce next week. But keep them coming. We appreciate it. And keep those comments coming. We did get this from Marta Gutierrez from Middlesex.
Marta
Jessica,
Gutierrez.
you get a little shout out in this one.
Marta.
Do you want to read it?
Yes, I love watching Good Day New York every day. I really like this newsroom show. Rosanna, Dan, Mike, Jessica, TGIF.
All right, we're taking
Marta, thank you so much.
Yeah, baby.
Thank you, Jessica. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back.
You just need a lock.
All right, Newsroom Live. Welcome back, Mr. Mike Woods. We can hear you, my friend, and it is just about 10:53. We do appreciate everyone who chimes into our show, and we want to share some of the comments. So, Mike, we got a good one here. This is from Anne Marie Davizia. I absolutely love this show. The best one on all of Fox. Thank you, Dan and staff, and definitely thank you to all the staff working through so much of what we have to do here. And this one, look at this. They found you out in Edgewater, Mike, watching with my husband and 2 naked cats. I don't know what that looks like. This is the best part of our day, watching you, Mike. That's got to be good to hear, Mr. Mike Woods. What do you think?
I love it. People are catching me everywhere. And trust me, every day, everywhere it is that I go, folks have something to say here. And we're out here at John Jay Pool. Several folks went by. I think this is where people bring their kids to come, spend some of that energy, go to the pool. It opens at 11 o'clock. It's free. You got to bring a lock. And it does have a little closing hour so you can clean up in the middle of the afternoon, somewhere around 2 o'clock or something like that. 2 to 3, something like that, or 3 to 4. 3 to 4. Okay, I'm getting information from my friend over here at the same time. But yeah, it's a free pool here on the Upper East Side. You can come check it out. People are lined up already behind me for the 11 o'clock opening, mostly adults, I notice. And yeah, John Jay Park with the pool. By the way, yes, Good Day does have a presence here from the past. I think we might have jumped in the pool just a little bit ahead of schedule. It was like supposed to be opening day. We might have jumped in that pool a little bit early. It wasn't my fault. It's one of my former coworkers
I know.
who was trying to stir up the troubles. But now we can at least come back, and I just won't claim his name.
I got it. And shout out to Francine from Jamaica, New York. Fantastic end to the week. The pool. Wow. Enjoyed this week's news segments. Thank you, Francine. We'll take one quick break. Let's show the Where's Mike graphic one last time. And we'll be out of here for this break. And we come back, we're going to check in again with what's happening in Lower Manhattan. There's the QR code. There's the T-shirt. Where's Mike? The contest. Mike's location today is the John Jay Pool. You just got to follow those instructions. Somebody from our team will contact you if you are the winner. Make sure you respond because we'll be announcing those winners next week. Mike Woods, thank you so much. We'll go to a break and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. It is 10:57 here on Newsroom Live. We are tracking everything that is going on throughout the tri-state area, and the big story this morning, what is happening in Lower Manhattan. So we are going to take a look at our team of reporters and our team of coverage that's happening out there right now. You can see Live View 2 is the podium where we are expecting some of the attorneys possibly to speak after the hearing and what is expected to be a guilty plea from Luigi Mangione. So let's take a look. We did just get this video in, so we want to turn it around and show it to you if we can. This is the defense team for Luigi Mangione. These are his attorneys who are walking into the federal courthouse this morning, and we do think that in just a matter of maybe within the next hour that Luigi Mangione will enter a plea, changing his plea from not guilty to guilty in this federal case. His defense team includes Karen Friedman Agnifilo, Mark Agnifilo, and Jacob Kaplan. The federal counsel is Avi Moskowitz, who was appointed early on, and so we'll be keeping track of exactly what's happening. He, of course, is 28 years old and looking at the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison. It is a major development this morning. The man accused of killing UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, Luigi Mangione, expected to plead guilty to federal charges in Lower Manhattan. But the biggest question may be what the plea means for the separate murder case he's facing in New York State. Mangione's attorneys are expected to argue that the state case should be dismissed under double jeopardy protections. Mangione is expected to appear in this federal courtroom. It starts in about 30 seconds. It does appear that all parties are inside of the courtroom, and it does appear that even Brian Thompson's family, the victim in this case, is in the courtroom as well. It is 11 o'clock here, just about 10 seconds. And so we want to go back out to the courthouse, and Robert Moses there with a defense attorney who is not associated with this case but does have some legal insight. Robert, take it away.
Yeah, Dan. So Luigi Mangione's attorneys just walked past us just a few feet away. Dante Mills and I were right next to them. They didn't say anything, but what must they be going through right now as they prepare for this hearing to start imminently?
There's going to be some backlash, for sure, from people who believe that he should not be given a plea deal. There's going to be some celebration from people who believed in what he did, no matter how horrific it was. One thing that we didn't address that I think is worth talking about is Alvin Bragg is going to be pissed. Alvin Bragg. The state of New York is going to feel like their thunder was taken away from them. Somebody came into their state, committed a horrific crime, and they don't get to deal out punishment. They're not going to be happy about that. So when they come out of this federal court building today, these attorneys, they're going to have to talk to the state prosecutors because that case is still pending, and they're going to have to try to negotiate. Are they going to keep trying to go after these charges, or are they going to let it go? Maybe try to get something in exchange so the state gets their moment. Maybe Luigi Mangione's attorneys do that. They say, okay, listen, pick a charge. We'll accept responsibility for it, so you get your moment, and you let that murder charge go away, so we don't have to get into the mud with that fight. It's going to be some back and forth though, because you have three different parties here: the federal government, New York State, and Luigi Mangione, all jockeying for the best outcome for themselves.
You've been in front of Judge Margaret Garnett before. You said she runs a pretty tight ship. This will be a pretty streamlined process today. You expect it to take maybe half an hour or so?
Yes, federal court is very, they're succinct. They operate in a manner where they're coming into this knowing what's going to happen. Once this case gets going, the judge is going to lay out the procedure. They're going to walk through if this is in fact a change of plea where he's accepting responsibility. They're going to walk through that. There's an allocution that has to happen. There's rules and regulations that the judge has to give to the defendant, have to let them know they have the right to a trial, the right to an appeal, the right to an attorney of their choosing. You want to make sure that the defendant understands these rights. That way, later on, he can't come back and say, I didn't know what I was doing when I made that change of plea and try and get it overturned. So the judge is going to make sure he understands his rights. Then the judge is going to confirm that you know what you're doing here. You're not under the influence of any alcohol or drugs or anybody forcing you to do this. You're doing this voluntarily. Once he says yes to that, the judge will say, did you commit these crimes? We don't know if he's simply going to say yes, if he's going to be forced to give some kind of recount of how this murder happened or how he was stalking from state to state. But he is going to have to accept responsibility verbally for the crimes that he's pleading guilty to. And then the judge is going to wrap it up. What happens after this, there could be a pre-sentencing report that's done. That's a pre-sentencing investigation where a probation officer gets into the background of Luigi Mangione, interviews him, interviews family members, and makes a recommendation for sentencing to the judge. Both sides, though, if they've agreed to a recommendation, they may waive that. That takes a couple of months to do. So it may be 3 months before we're coming back here, so that report and investigation for pre-sentencing can be done. But if they're going to waive that, then potentially he could be sentenced next week. The judge could bring them back, can say, listen, I've heard the arguments as to what the sentence should be. I agree with that or not. If the judge agrees with that potential plea, the judge can accept that plea and have him sentenced next week if they waive that report. So there's a couple of different options here, but it's not over. It won't be over today.
What do you think the sentence will be? Do you think it'll be around 30 years, which would make Luigi Mangione a free man around 60 years old? That a fair estimate?
Listen, if I'm representing Luigi Mangione and I'm taking this plea, it's because I know that I'm getting a time specific. I can't imagine that these federal prosecutors are going to offer less than 30 years, right? 25, 30 years. He's only 28 years old. So yes, in 30 years, if he's sentenced to 30-year sentence, in federal court, you get about a year back of your time every 7 years. It's 54 days you get back for time served every year. So if he's sentenced to a 30-year sentence, he'll probably do about 25 of that. That means that'll put him, quick math, at about 53 when he gets out. That's a young man. So if that opportunity is here to take a 25-year sentence, as his defense attorney, I'm saying jump on that. So if that's the plea, we understand now why he's here today accepting that. I can't imagine they're going to do anything less than that.
From your experience, you see very little chance, right, that there is a state trial, given what's happening here today.
I see very little chance that there's a state trial on the murder. There could be a state trial on unrelated charges like the fraud or him, checking into that hostel under a fraudulent name or carrying a gun into that hostel or something like that, unrelated to the murder at the Hilton or in front of the Hilton itself, because that's going to be covered by this plea. New York, though, may look for something outside of that and say, we want to put on our own show. We want to make our own statement here in New York to deter people from coming into our state to commit crimes. If they take that stance, which Bragg has been known to do, to prosecute for justice, but also for the deterrent factor, then there could be a trial, but it just won't be about the murder of Thompson.
I want to drill down on something you said. You said that DA Alvin Bragg is pissed. What is he upset about in your mind? Not necessarily that the feds actually charged Mangione, right, but that they offered him some kind of deal.
Yes. So in the charging stage, I think it was appropriate and the right thing to do for everybody possible to charge him. That way you make sure he doesn't slip through the cracks. So he was charged in New York. Pennsylvania had the ability, federal court, you want the charges to be there to make sure somebody has control over him. But at this stage now, Alvin Bragg and that DA's office did everything possible to move this along as quickly as they could so they can be first in line. It's set for trial next month. That's an incredible speed in state court. What the federal prosecutors did was jumped in front of them. It's almost like Big Brother coming in and saying, okay, you guys, we got it from here.
Let me handle this.
Don't worry about it. The big dogs are here. We're going to handle this. But Alvin Bragg is saying he came into our state and did this. He came into New York from somewhere else and took someone's life on our streets in our midtown, right? He did that here. We want to prosecute him, but Big Brother kind of stepped in and said, we got it. Nobody wants to feel that way and have that thunder taken away from them. And that's what happened here in this case. No matter how you look at it, justice may still happen, but it was done by the federal government, not the state of New York.
And Al, can we just show kind of the gathered media down here as we're talking? I mean, tell me about what do you see here in terms of the sideshow, all the media, the influencers here who have been walking around. In your experience, put this into perspective. This is one of the bigger shows that I've seen in my years of covering court cases.
The nation was interested in this case and still is interested in this case. We know that Luigi Mangione has fans from this. There's people who show up. They have T-shirts, signs. People write him in prison. He has an extensive list of fan mail that comes in. That puts a lot of attention on the case and pressure on both sides. The prosecutors are saying, we have to get this right. That may be why a plea was offered by the federal prosecutors, but they're saying, we don't want to risk going to trial because a jury member could say, we believe he committed this murder, but we also believe he was justified in doing so. And there's something called jury nullification, where they can say, we think he did it, but we think he did it to help our healthcare system, and we don't want him punished for that because he was speaking up for the common man.
So going to trial is risky.
Going to trial is always risky. I tell my clients all the time, and I'm a very good trial lawyer, but I tell them I can't guarantee an outcome. The prosecutors know that as well. They cannot guarantee an outcome in any case. And what you really didn't want to do is take this case to trial as a prosecutor and lose and have him walk free. So this does, at least, if he's accepting a plea here, it guarantees that justice will be served. He will be in prison for an extremely long time. That guarantee gives comfort, not only to the prosecutors, but to, just the people, to know that someone committed a crime and they're being held responsible for it. That's the risk you run in these high-profile cases. If something doesn't go your way and he walks free, that's a disaster where people think, wait, maybe I can get away with this if I do something so extreme and say I have a cause behind it. You don't want that to catch on and for people to think it's okay. So locking in a long-term prison sentence, I think it has benefit. But again, there's a flip side to that where it feels like you're kind of giving this guy some leeway that he doesn't deserve, right? And again, I wouldn't imagine he's taking this plea if it's for the highest sentence he could possibly get. So he's receiving something in exchange for this.
Put yourself in Karen and Mark Agnifalo's shoes for a second. Do you tell Luigi Mangione today, hey, no outbursts, keep control? I mean, because we know back in February he said 1 + 1 = 2, kind of declaring that he believes this to be an example of double jeopardy. What are you telling Luigi Mangione today if you're representing him?
Not to say anything. What you don't want to do at this stage is piss off the judge, because the judge still has to approve this plea agreement if that's what it is. You don't want to create a situation where the court is against your client because of an outburst or something that he may have said. You also want to give some kind of deference. And if I'm his attorneys, I'm telling him this. Listen, we have the state prosecution next month. We don't want that to happen. Let's not rub it in their face. This is a win for us if they walk out of here with some kind of benefit and they understand that Alvin Bragg is going to be pissed. Don't make it worse, right? Don't say, oh, see, now the state, they can't do anything with me. Like, don't edge them on to where they definitely want to find a reason and a way to come after you. Show them some grace so that they accept what's happening, accept that it's punishment enough, accept that you feel, that you feel remorseful in some regard, so they don't feel like they have to come after you still. If I'm his attorney, I'm telling him, show that grace, be gracious to them so they don't want to come after you after this is over.
You've earned your pay for today.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We could be here all day. Dante Mills, thank you very much. Dan, I'll send it back to you in the studio as we await the outcome of this hearing, which is now 11 minutes old. Back to you.
Robert Moses, thank you very much. And many thanks to attorney Dante Mills, who is joining us this morning here on Newsroom Live. We've extended our coverage. We normally would go from 10 to 11, but now we're going to go to 11 all the way until we get to the end of this thing. And as Robert mentioned, it looks like the proceedings started right as they were supposed to at about 11 o'clock. It's possible that this plea hearing could take about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter. And afterward, it's possible that the attorneys on either side could come out and speak and update us. We also want to check in with Stephanie Bertini, who is tracking some of our team coverage this morning. Stephanie outside the courthouse. Stephanie, can you just sort of give a sense of what you're seeing down there in terms of the number of media presence? Are we seeing the Mangione supporters who we've seen at so many occasions during these events that have happened in different parts along this court proceeding so far? What are you getting a sense of?
Hey, Dan. Well, first of all, we both know this has been such a high-profile case with so much public interest. And today we could see a major twist in this federal case. Yes, a lot of media here, a media row set up outside federal court here in Manhattan. And I actually just asked Dan, one of our photographers, to get us some video. I want to be able to give it to you in just a little while so you could see up close the people who have come just to watch. So many people spread out outside the barricades, because barricades are set up. There's media directly over my shoulder here, and just outside of the camera's view, there's all kinds of media lined up right beside me here. So rows of journalists covering this highly anticipated possible change of a plea. It is a major development in a story that we've been following locally, but a story that really has had national and international interest, as our team has been reporting as we've been covering it. This is a very big deal. As my colleague Robert Moses has been reporting throughout the morning, it could mean major changes and basically an absolute direction change in what would happen in state court. It could mean, under double jeopardy, that Mangione does not appear in state court in connection to this situation, this killing of Brian Thompson, that UnitedHealthcare CEO that he's accused of killing at near a hotel in Manhattan. Again, Dan, you know this has been a story that has taken the media and the public on many twists and turns, including right after the death, there was a manhunt that lasted for days. Mangione was eventually taken into custody. And so he's facing two separate cases, a federal case and a state case right now. Up until now, it's crucial to report that he has pled not guilty. If he enters a guilty plea today, as is expected here in federal court, then this could change a lot of things. It could change the trajectory of his future. We've been talking to several legal experts. So why could this happen? Well, what we've heard them say, and I'm attributing this to the legal experts that we've talked to, is that what it could mean is a change in the consequences. So under that state case, in terms of what he's facing in connection to Thompson's death, he would do life behind bars. Now, in the federal case, it's up to the discretion, essentially, of the judge in terms of the consequences. So that could be a reason for the change of plea. But this is all, again, right now, unknown. We are reporting what we're hearing. We are reporting the information that we have so far. We do have Antoine Lewis inside the courtroom. What happens inside the courtroom with that hearing scheduled kind of hastily, both sides, in terms of Mangione's attorneys and in terms of the federal prosecutors, they wanted this to happen. So again, we are expecting that he will essentially change his plea from not guilty to guilty, Dan. And there is, again, a lot of public interest, a lot of people who have come just to see. I see cell phones out, people taking photos, all eyes on federal court here in Lower Manhattan, Dan.
Stephanie Bertini, thank you very much for your reporting, and so many of the points you made definitely spot on. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about what we can expect in the courtroom as we speak right now. They've been underway for about 15 minutes, so we'll take a quick break. We thank Stephanie Bertini for her reporting, Robert Moses as well, and attorney Dante Mills. When we come back, we're going to be speaking with Peter Frankel, another defense attorney who's got some insight that you should know. We'll be right back. Welcome back here on Newsroom Live. It is 11:18 on a Friday morning. We are in a place where at the beginning of the week we didn't necessarily expect we would be. That is outside the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan, where accused UnitedHealthcare CEO killer Brian Thompson is the victim here. Luigi Mangione is expected to enter a guilty plea in court. We can come out live to the newsroom here on Newsroom Live. Defense attorney Peter Frankel, thank you so much for joining us. They just handed me this a second ago. This is from the Associated Press. It says, Luigi Mangione's lawyers tell judge he plans to plead guilty in federal case in killing of the UnitedHealthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. So what we were expecting.
Right, 100%. There it is. That's really the only reasonable explanation for having this hearing today. the defense team really couldn't wait much longer with the state trial coming up so quickly. So this fits in perfectly to what I think their narrative has been.
So 11 o'clock, maybe a few minutes afterward is when this gets started. Everyone's in the courtroom, the media. It looks like Brian Thompson's family is there, maybe some other spectators, certainly all the attorneys. The judge is there, but it sounds like Mangione hasn't, maybe he's there. Would he be there as well by the time they make that statement to the judge?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So he'll be in a holding cell right off the courtroom through a door. They will bring him out. They won't really do anything unless he's there present.
And most likely, is he cuffed when he comes out, or will he be, or they sort of uncuff him when he sits down?
Yeah, typically.
In most cases?
Correct, yes.
And so now that they have said what they have said, it then falls on the prosecution. What would typically happen in a case like this? I mean, kind of take us inside as we know it.
You know, the defendant's right to plead guilty in this case really is separate and apart from anything that the prosecution can do at this point.
Okay.
This is really a contract between the defendant, Mr. Mangione, and the court. The prosecution can't object. He's permitted to plead guilty to this indictment, which is what he's doing. What's a little unusual or different in this case is that there's no plea agreement given by the government. Typically, I would expect that Mr. Mangione will plead guilty to the charges in the indictment for a number of reasons, not the least of which is it will allow his team to then seek to trigger double jeopardy argument in state court and try to have that indictment dismissed.
And so if we follow that narrative, best case scenario for the defense team, this sort of high wire strategy that they have to take there, high stakes, maybe a better word for it. If a judge agrees in the state case, Judge Carroll, that this is a double jeopardy, then the penalty part of it would fall on the federal side. And so they've got to be hoping that he gets a year's sentence as opposed to a life sentence. I mean, that's the play. Is that the play here in theory?
100% the play. You know, there's so much involved in this decision. There is a bit of a calculated risk because in order to do this, they have to really believe they're on solid footing with respect to the double jeopardy claim in state court. Otherwise, it doesn't really make any sense. He's going to end up pleading guilty in federal court and then potentially looking at a trial in state court, which is not going to help him in any way.
Yeah.
But this plea has the potential benefit of triggering double jeopardy in the state case, or being able to argue for a non-life sentence, to your point, which they can argue to Judge Garnett.
He's 28 years old, so he's hoping that, you know, maybe if 30 years he could still, you know, I don't want to say a young man, but he'd still be under 60 years old in that sense if he were to get a sentence like that.
You know, Dan, look, the government's going to still argue for life without parole.
Yeah.
I'm sure of that. Could I see the potential for, and I hate to predict, but a 30 to 40 year sentence given by Judge Garnett? In this case, yeah, I think that's possible.
Within the realm of possibility.
I think it is, yeah.
And let me ask you, you know, we had a viewer actually ask this question. When there's a plea deal, so you would take it from a murder charge to a manslaughter charge, and there wouldn't be a trial, the families wouldn't have to sit through a trial. In that scenario, it's possible that the prosecutors would consult with a family member to say, here's what we're going to do, or give them a heads up. Here's what we're going to do. So on and so forth, that courtesy. But in this case, that most likely won't happen because it's him who's changing his plea altogether, right? I mean, that's kind of the way that this is working out.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
In fact, in the vast majority of cases, the prosecutors are supposed to consult with the victim's family and let them know what they're planning on doing and get feedback. In this case, because there was a hearing that was called for by both the government and Mr. Mangione's team, I'm sure Mr. Thompson's family was made aware of what was going to be happening today in the courtroom.
But not necessarily told that this is what we want, but because at the beginning of the case, you have a right to plead guilty or not guilty.
Right.
He pleads not guilty in the beginning, and then that sets off the stakes of what's going to happen when you have your trial and all that. But at that moment, he could have said, I'm guilty, go for it, whatever's going to happen. But that's what's happening now without the promise of a prosecution sort of giving him any help along the way.
Right. And part of that, I think, and I think it merits mention is, look, the defense team has done everything that they possibly could under really, really difficult circumstances. Let's not forget, and as a defense attorney, I have to throw this in, the top charges in both the state and federal indictments were dismissed. So he was looking at life without parole. And he was looking at the possibility in the state case and the possibility of the death penalty in the federal case.
Yeah.
So they've done a tremendous service to him. Unfortunately, they're running out of runway, and now this is the last card that they have to play.
Got it. And in some ways, okay, so we're just getting handed something. According to Fox News Channel, U.S. attorneys walked in on side entrance of courthouse at 10:53. We do have some of that video here. Okay, so this is, and he's got a top defense team. I mean, the Agnifilo husband and wife, and Jacob Kaplan, I believe, is the other gentleman's name who's involved in the team. So they walked in. I mean, this is sort of some of the video that we were able to pick up. We heard Rosanna asked you earlier, and I think some people have maybe crossed their minds as well. But you hear about, the federal prison is better than going up to Sing Sing. Or, doing your time with the feds is better than doing your time with the state prison. Is there anything to that?
I think there's something to it, although not enough necessarily. I mean, look, no matter how you slice it, he's going to do a very significant amount of time in whatever prison he ends up in. So for that reason, I think to the extent that he wants to be in what he perceives to be a better, maybe slightly more comfortable place, that makes sense. I think, in my experience, defendants, given the option, would prefer to do a sentence federally rather than the state. But you have to remember, he's going to be convicted of a murder charge, so he's not going to some country club federal prison.
Would that be a supermax kind of situation?
I don't know if it'll be supermax, but it certainly won't be a minimum security location.
Okay.
And it won't be in New York.
It's not going to be in New York because it's a state trial. If you were convicted and you were sentenced, you go to state prison.
Right.
For the most part.
Right.
Federal case, you could go. He could just regionally wherever it's going to sort of work out. I don't want to get too far ahead, but in theory, he still is a high-profile prisoner. So would he maybe be kept separately, or is that part of the calculus that kind of works differently in federal court, or is this really just about the sentencing?
So to your point, and I would just refer back to the Sean Combs case, the defense has the ability to ask the court for him to serve his sentence in a particular region of the country, in the east, west, whatever they want. And the court can make a recommendation to the Bureau of Prisons with respect to where the time is actually served. It's not binding on the Bureau of Prisons, but certainly the defense can ask for him. His family is from California. Can he please serve his time on the West Coast?
Okay, so we're going to go to a break here in just a second. But I hope we can bring this up on the computer when we come back, because it looks like the New York Times is sort of giving a running dialogue of what's happening inside. And it looks like he was just asked about his mental state. He said he was of sound mind. The judge has been questioning him. And so those are the type of questions that you were expecting.
So a defense attorney is going to go through these questions. Having done this myself and Mr. Agnifilo thousands and thousands of times, you're going to sit with your client and you're going to go through every single question that he can be expected to be asked from the court. So he's answering this question. It's essentially a script of questions that the court must ask in order to ensure that this is a knowing, voluntary, and intelligent plea that's being taken. But Mr. Mangione is not going to hear a question that he hasn't already been prepared for.
Got it. All right, Peter Frankel, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
So much appreciated, so much insight. I feel like I learned something new every time we talk. So we're taking a live look at the courthouse right now. It appears that we are not at the end of this. We are still very much in it. Stick with us here on Newsroom Live, because we're going to bring you these things as they happen. When we get an update, you'll get an update. We'll be reacting to so much of this news just as you are. We'll take a break and we'll be right back.
consultation today.
All right, Newsroom Live. It is just about 11:30. Thank you so much for sticking with us here on Newsroom Live. We appreciate it. We are giving you live updates as they happen from the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, where Luigi Mangione is entering a plea of guilty. His attorneys just made that announcement a few minutes ago, and we do have a live update of what is being said in court. So this is from the New York Times. The judge explains the rights Mangione is giving up by entering his plea. If Mangione did not plead guilty, he'd be entitled to a speedy and public trial. If we scroll up, even now the judge says Mangione has the right to change his mind. Judge Garrett explains the maximum sentence he receives is life in prison on each of the 2 counts of stalking that resulted in death. The judge says he will have to serve at least 85% of his sentence. If Mangione is convicted in a state case, the judge adds, it could be added to a federal sentence. All right, let's come back out here live into our newsroom. So that's where we are right now. Right up to the very last second, Linda Schmidt. But we want to also take a look back at where things were back in December of 2024.
You know, it's really hard to believe, right? Because this December now, it's going to be 2 years since that murder happened.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you how the wheels of justice can grind very slowly.
Yeah.
Because so many times, you know, people watch this stuff on TV and something happens and then they're in court like 2 or 3 months later. That's not the reality of how things work.
Not the case at all. I remember I was out there that morning and we got the call and, you know, they said shooting in Midtown.
Right.
That in itself was just sort of all alarm bells going, because as you know, when there's a shooting, there's a killing in Midtown Manhattan, it's kind of all hands on deck.
Which never happens.
Never happens.
And it was just a few weeks before Christmas as well.
Exactly.
Which made it even more alarming
And
for
then
people.
we get down there and the word on the street is, it looks like somebody was waiting by the side of the building and then executed this man. And then pretty soon we got this video. So can you pick it up from there?
Okay, so what happened here is, first of all, Luigi Mangione, authorities say that he arrived in New York City on November 24th. Now, that was 11 days before the shooting happened. And these are surveillance pictures that were picked up of him around the city at various locations. And 9 times out of 10, he had a mask on.
Right.
But you could tell because he had the real bushy eyebrows.
Yes.
So every single picture then looked the same, and it was a very unique, identifiable feature that he had on his face. So he arrives here on November 24th, and then he ends up checking into a hostel on the Upper West Side.
Got it. And
So
that's this picture right here becomes a key point in the investigation.
That's right. And you notice he's smiling because he's in the hostel right there. And in order for him to check in, there was a young woman behind the counter. And so she was kind of flirting with him and he was flirting with her. And she said, well, in order for you to check in, I've got your ID here, but I need to see your full face. Can you please just take your mask down for me? And in that moment, he took down the mask. It is the only picture of him anywhere related to this case where he's not wearing the mask. And he's smiling there because he's flirting with her. That's what authorities say happened at that point.
So at this moment, the NYPD had this masked assassin in this high-profile case.
Right.
They're searching for a suspect, and then they get that photo. So now they have something to work with. And the public has something to see, to put a face with this incredible surveillance video. And then where do we go?
Well, the murder happens 6:45 in the morning on December 4th.
Okay.
And that's in Midtown.
Right.
Comes up, we've got that famous surveillance, or infamous surveillance video. Shows coming up behind him, he's got a silencer on the gun and shoots him a couple of times in the back and kills UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. After that, he is seen on various surveillance pictures and videos. He hops on an e-bike. He heads up to Central Park. So he heads north, and then he ends up at a Port Authority location up by the George Washington Bridge, gets on a bus, and he goes to Pennsylvania. He goes to Philadelphia. He goes to Pittsburgh. But where he ends up eventually is in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Now,
Okay.
I'm very familiar with Altoona, Pennsylvania,
Why is
because
that?
it's less than an hour from where Penn State is, State College. State College is dead center in central Pennsylvania.
Right. A lot of people around here, yeah.
And I've been to Altoona multiple times. So that's where he ends up. And as a result...
Can we pause it here? Stop it here? Okay.
As a result, as a result of all of these surveillance pictures, he ends up in a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And that is on December 9th. And this is after a nationwide manhunt.
So the shooting's on the 4th.
Right?
And the manhunt lasts for 5 days.
5
and they
days.
track him on the 9th.
That's right. They pinpoint him on the 9th. So he's in this McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And a lot of the older folks, they go to the McDonald's and they meet like in the morning.
Mid-afternoon coffee.
Yeah.
Right.
Or even in the morning.
Morning coffee.
And they stop there
Morning
and they chit-chat about what's going on. Somebody in that group recognizes him, goes to a McDonald's employee and says, I think that's the guy that they're looking for in the murder of that man in New York.
I didn't realize. I forgot that that's how it happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
That person then calls police, Altoona police. They show up at the McDonald's. And then, of course, we have that video from their body cam, from the police body cam from Altoona. And these are some of the frozen pictures of that. He is seen eating, and I think it's the home fries there, in a corner booth. And he doesn't have his mask on. And then the Altoona police approach him. They start having a conversation with him. And then, of course, he's got the backpack. In the backpack is a manifesto of sorts. Some have described it as a notebook.
Yep.
Many have called it a manifesto.
Right.
He's got the gun in there, which was a ghost gun.
Not a typical handgun.
Not a typical handgun. It could be made at home.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was. And then at that point, he's arrested. And then you see him being taken into the police station there in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
And at that moment, in that shot, he is screaming and kind of yelling. Defiant is the better word for that, Linda. Sort of. I feel like what he was yelling there, I don't remember. I don't know if you have it in your notes, just about the media or, because I can't remember what he said, but it was a very defiant sort of moment that I don't think a lot of people were expecting.
No, a lot of people were not expecting that. You would expect him to be more like this, more docile, but he was very defiant. I don't remember exactly what he was screaming, but he was very angry in that other video that you were just talking about. And I, too, do not remember exactly what he was saying. But then he was in Pennsylvania for a while, and then on December 19th, he was extradited here to New York.
That's this video.
With this video here.
I remember this video.
Yeah. In the orange jumpsuit, surrounded by FBI and other federal agents, as well as then Mayor Eric Adams.
Right.
And so he was walked into New York City, and he was taken into the federal prison system. Now, this video here received a lot of criticism from some people because they felt that it was just like some type of orchestrated drama created by the Adams administration and the feds.
You and I have covered many criminal cases where it is not uncommon for the NYPD to walk somebody from a precinct to the vehicle.
Very common. It
and
happens
then
all the
we
time.
get our picture and we yell questions.
Right.
But this is essentially that, but on a way larger scale.
On a way larger scale. And that was a big complaint, too, and a very big criticism from his defense team, saying that this is really orchestrated. And by doing something like this, basically in the public view, convicting him. And so that he really didn't stand a chance. This is one of the pieces of their case, that he didn't stand a chance of getting an unbiased jury. That's what the defense maintains.
Yes. And so just in case anyone's joining us here on Newsroom Live, it is just about 11:39. Alex, you said you have an update possibly there. So let's take the writer's desk again, and we can react to this in real time. So these are the updates that are coming from inside of the courtroom. This is a federal court. Linda, as you know, no cameras inside the courtroom. Most of the reporters don't have their phones, but maybe one or two have the ability to give updates. This is coming directly from the New York Times. Mangione is staying seated to read his statement. He begins by saying that after years of enduring severe pain from an injured back and navigating the insurance system, he learned that UnitedHealthcare would be holding its annual investor conference in New York City on December 4th, 2024. Although the specific location was not publicly disclosed, he said he researched the event online. Is there more above that, Alex? Do you want to pick it up there, Linda, if you want to? He says that he traveled to New York City and emailed UnitedHealthcare leadership.
He also talked about here that he did print a gun with a 3D printer and affixed it with a silencer. Now, this is all information that we have known pretty much since 2024. And that in addition to what you just said there, Dan, he says that he traveled to New York City and he emailed UnitedHealthcare leadership posing as an investor to get information about the conference. And he said he got a response within an hour. So that's how he knew who was going to be at that conference, what time it was starting. And then, as you were talking about earlier, he just went there and he waited until Brian Thompson, the CEO, walked by. And there he was. He was covered pretty much from head to toe, Luigi Mangione. He had a mask on, pulls out a gun. It has a silencer on it, and fires multiple shots into Brian Thompson's back.
And here is the statement. Here are the words. Quote, "I shot Mr. Thompson in Manhattan," Mangione tells the judge, adding, "I understand that my actions would place him in fear of death or bodily harm, bodily injury. I knew what I was doing was illegal." It seems to me, obviously these are his words,
right,
but those are carefully calculated words that clearly he has gone over, and they have figured out exactly what he wanted to say than his defense team
Absolutely.
before sitting here. I mean, those are the words. "I shot Mr. Thompson in Manhattan."
That's right. And this is something like you're saying right now. This is not a haphazard thing where he just decides, oh, I'm going to say this.
Premeditated.
No.
Yep.
They sit down, they go over the exact language, and then they go over that language again because his legal team, in doing so, is trying to do the best job as well for their client, who is now pleading guilty to murder.
And in some sense, what he is saying there is that I had a problem with UnitedHealthcare in particular.
That's right. Because I had a medical issue.
Because I had a medical issue. I was upset about the costs of this. And this is why I did it. But so much of his support, as you know, was from people who saw him as this vigilante of justice because of attention that he, in that manifesto, had allegedly said, which it looks like now we can sort of confirm it, and that he stood as this vigilante of justice who was going to carry this out. This is sort of narrowing that a little bit. So, Linda, we'll go to a quick break, and when we come back, it looks like we're getting very close to the end of this guilty plea from Luigi Mangione. The words that he said in court this morning: "I shot Mr. Thompson in Manhattan." We'll be right back. Welcome back to Newsroom Live and Fox New York here. You are watching our extended coverage of the Luigi Mangione hearing in Lower Manhattan. And we did just get word that Mr. Mangione has admitted that he shot Mr. Thompson in Manhattan, Brian Thompson, the UnitedHealthcare CEO. And just above that, this is the update that we're getting from the New York Times. Most reporters do not have cameras or phones inside.
Or computers, unless they are, they cover the federal court on a routine basis. They are the only ones. That's why we're getting this information from the court.
And it looks like here, and the keywords there were, I shot Mr. Thompson. And then the next thing that we see here, the judge asks Mangione how he pleads to the 2 counts. Mangione says, guilty. If you want to pick it up from there, Linda.
You know, it's really powerful when you see those words and you see the written word. Alex, can we go ahead and go back to the part where Dan was reading before? There we go. I shot Mr. Thompson in Manhattan. Quotation marks. There he is in a court of law and a federal court in this country admitting to murdering the CEO of a healthcare company. And it was 2 years ago in December. And so much of this information we have now known about for quite some time now. You know, it happened December 4 of 2024. Within several months, we had so much of this information.
Overwhelming evidence in some sense.
Overwhelming, because you had the surveillance videos and the pictures of him throughout this city and elsewhere. And that was starting on November 24, like I was talking to you about, arrived here in the city. And he came with the intent of killing Brian Thompson.
And that's what he is now admitted to. And so let's go out to Stephanie Bertini. If we take a look at our big board. Oh, no, there we just go right to her. Stephanie, so we are getting these live updates as they are coming through. I don't know if you're seeing it as well, or if there's been any reaction from any of the crowd that is out there this morning, but it appears that Mr. Mangione has entered his guilty plea and has directly admitted to killing Brian Thompson. And the latest update that we have is that the hearing is now over. So Stephanie, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I've been following those updates from inside the courtroom. Dan, as you mentioned, of course, most reporters are not even in the courtroom. A lot of them are outside, and the reporters inside, they don't have their cell phones. So we are getting information from the journalists inside, and then it's essentially being funneled outside. There is a long media row. I'm at the end of one of the media rows. Right over my shoulder here, another media row. All eyes on federal court in Manhattan today. It was 11 o'clock, that scheduled hearing, and it was scheduled because we expected Mangione to change his plea to guilty. And now we've heard him say, yes, I killed Brian Thompson. Those updates were coming here to us as we've been getting that information. I've been getting it via my cell phone, Fox News giving us information, of course, our mothership. And also we're watching the reporting that's happening in real time, Dan. And so it is both an advantage and a challenge when we think about the technology we have to be able to report today outside the courtroom, because we can bring you that information almost in real time. And everything is so crucial and important, Dan, because you hit it exactly. There is so much public interest. We have a lot of onlookers here outside the courtroom, people with cell phones, taking photos, taking videos. They've come here to catch a glimpse, essentially, of anything. We did not see Mangione, as you could probably imagine, outside the perimeter here, but we know it was right after 11 that he appeared in court. We know that he then delivered a statement, and we know that before that, his lead attorney essentially did indicate to the court that he would be changing his plea. So the big situation now revolves around that state case. I have a legal expert just feet away from me because we're going to be bringing him in for the nude broadcast, Dan, but I was debriefing with him, and what he's basically said is, because as we've been talking about, Dan, you've been talking about it with Linda there in the newsroom, this is a big deal for that state case because now he has said, look, I'm guilty, I did this. So essentially, it could mean under double jeopardy here in New York that state case becomes no more. He was actually scheduled to start the state trial in September. The federal trial was scheduled for January. So now a lot of questions about what happens next. This is a huge turn in a major case, a story that has really taken not only only local, national, but also international interest. So many people have been weighing in on Mangione, his possible motives online. And so we can imagine now that we're going to see that current electrify, because again, there is so much public interest in this, Dan.
Stephanie, thank you very much for that reporting. Stand by if you can, just to get people up to speed if you're just tuning us in here on Newsroom Live, because we are getting these updates live as they happen. The hearing is over. Luigi Mangione has accepted the plea of guilty from the suspect in the killing, no longer a suspect, but from the man who shot and killed UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione, according to reporters inside, has shown virtually no emotion during the proceeding, but has answered questions solemnly and clearly. And so, go ahead.
And Dan, it's really important to point out here, too, because we no longer have to use the word reportedly or the word allegedly.
Yep.
Now he is a murderer.
Admitted it.
He's admitted it. He admitted it in a federal court. And as several attorneys that I've been hearing talk about this case in the past 2 days, including criminal defense attorney Peter Frankel, who is superb, who you have had on today, it is not a plea deal. This was not a negotiation that went on between the feds and his legal team. They didn't offer him anything. It is a plea. He simply changed his mind from not guilty to guilty, and that's it.
Exactly. And so the question now moves from the headline that Mangione pled guilty today to the bigger legal question of what is going to happen next. A guilty plea in federal court, as you just mentioned, does resolve this part of the case, but it would not necessarily end the New York State murder case. And as you know, because you've been to the state courthouse many times, I'm sure covering this is some element of this. Alvin Bragg and his team, the Manhattan DA, worked incredibly hard to dig up a lot of the evidence and things along those lines. And they fully expected to be able to move forward with this.
Absolutely. Well, you know, the murder happened in this city. Is there some breaking news you wanted to read?
Remarks from that.
Okay, so this is just coming in from the Southern District of New York. It tells us that immediately following the proceeding, which is right now, remarks will be provided on the steps of the main entrance of the Thurgood Marshall United States Courthouse, which is where we are. We're expecting James McDaniel. And you did mention that you saw someone walk in, and it looks like Jessica Tisch.
Yeah, the NYPD commissioner. We were just looking at some video on the big board here, and I think it was during the break, and I saw her walking, and I'm like, wait a second, I think that's the police commissioner. And I saw her back going into the building, and apparently that is her, because she's going to be a part of that press conference that they're going to be having shortly. But yes, you know, Alvin Bragg's office, the DA's office, they worked incredibly hard on this, along with the NYPD, because it was because of NYPD detectives and them scouring hours and hours and hours of surveillance video. I mean, it could be hundreds of hours of surveillance video that they scoured.
To get those 2 or 3 images.
To be able to get those 2 or 3 images. In addition, there was that one image, the infamous image of him in the back of a cab. And his face is also covered by a face mask. That was one of the early images as well. That was the NYPD. They were the ones who found that image in a yellow New York City cab. So there you go. There it is right there. And you can see Crime Stoppers up there with the NYPD. And there he is outside of the cab, walking outside of it. So
it's interesting you say Crime Stoppers, because at this point, this is the person that they were looking for. Call 1-800-577-TIPS. And so in the back of the taxi, and it's those bushy eyebrows that, in a sense, was one of the links between all these different photos. I'm not sure if these people are involved. It doesn't seem like they're involved in the case. Maybe they are, maybe they're not.
Well, anybody, that's a huge courthouse. So anybody could be coming out for if somebody could be there unrelated to this case, absolutely, but just coming out. But I do want to point out here, those 2 pictures where we're seeing him in the cab and outside the cab, those were the initial photos that the NYPD released. Those were the first ones that they were able to get. And then it was a couple of days later where they had that photo of him inside the hostel where he had taken down his mask because he was flirting with the woman behind the counter who was saying, I need to see your whole face. Which is that picture right there. Which is that one right there. So that came a couple of days later. So all of those pictures all together, then they were blasted out nationally because it was a nationwide manhunt. That lasted for, was December 4 was the murder. December 5th, they launched that national manhunt. And then December 9, 5 days after the murder, that's when he was identified in that McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
And just sort of zooming out here, this case obviously became an international case, not just because of that surveillance video and how this assassination, in a sense, took place, not just because of who Brian Thompson was, the head of the UnitedHealthcare, when clearly it looked like this person was targeted because of who he was.
Correct.
And then, in some sense, because Mangione is this young guy who is 28 years old from a well-to-do family.
Right. Highly educated.
Highly educated in some sense. All of this adds to the intrigue. And then the reasoning that at least was laid out in some of the early manifesto information that I'm a vigilante in a sense, trying to bring attention to this inequity in the healthcare system as he described it.
That's right. And it's not just about me. I'm trying to help all of you who have been wronged by the healthcare system in this country.
Exactly. And then so we saw his supporters grow. We saw a website that was created for his defense, more than $1 million that was sort of raised. But that's why I think it's interesting today, because he didn't talk about all that. He didn't talk about how, I did this because of the things that I believe with the United States healthcare system and what I think is wrong.
Right.
Did you notice that? It was very narrow.
Focused on him.
Exactly.
This is what happened to me.
Exactly.
This is why I did it.
Right.
And that's it.
And he can't argue that it was an impulsive decision. But that, because obviously he planned it, but in a sense that this, and I wonder if that he's hoping will influence the decision from the judge later on about what a sentencing might be.
Well, Peter was talking to you earlier saying that he could get up, Peter Frankel, a criminal defense attorney here in the city. Wasn't he saying to you that he could end up getting sentenced to 30 to 40 years?
He said that this charge, the two charges, stalking that result in death on the federal side, carry the possibility of life in prison.
Okay.
But as you say, 30 to 40 years is what the defense team will argue, because on the state side, if you're convicted, it's a mandatory life sentence. And so it's all a high stakes gamble in some sense, right?
That's right. But the judge has already said this morning that whatever the sentence is, he has to serve 85% of his sentence.
Yes. And so
that's a huge chunk.
That is a huge chunk.
For a 28-year-old.
It is, but it's not the whole thing.
No, it's not the whole thing.
If you get a life sentence along those lines. So we have about 2 minutes until our noon broadcast starts here. And we are waiting, just in case anyone is curious, we are waiting to see the federal prosecutors who are expected to leave this courtroom in just a few minutes. It's going to be Jamie McDonald, who is the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, and also James Barnacle Jr., the FBI New York Assistant Director in charge. And then significantly, Jessica Tisch, the NYPD Commissioner.
That's right.
Because you imagine that her perspective on this, obviously not a federal agent in any sense, but her perspective will be, this is the result of the hard work from the men and women from my department.
That's right, from the NYPD. But also something else that she will say is that there is a close connection between not just the NYPD, but also the feds, the FBI.
Yeah.
And it was all of the federal partners that they work closely with on a day-to-day basis, by the way, because we have federal task forces with the NYPD. And so they do work hand in hand together. So she definitely will be making that point at that news conference today.
All right. Linda Schmidt, thank you very much. I know you'll still be on this case throughout the rest of the afternoon as we cover things here, not just in the noon, but also all of our Newsroom Live at 2 and 4 and 5 and 6 and throughout the rest of the day. But we do want to head up to Ryan Christopher up in the studio, who is going to pick up our coverage as we keep track of the very important breaking headline news of the day. Luigi Mangione changing his plea from not guilty to guilty. The judge accepting that plea in court this morning. Luigi Mangione said the words, "I shot Brian Thompson. I knew it was illegal." So we'll send it up to Ryan Christopher, who's going to continue our coverage this afternoon.
Fox 5. This is The Noon.
Well, breaking right now at noon, guilty plea. Luigi Mangione pleading guilty to federal stalking charges in the killing of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Welcome here to the Noon. I'm Ryan Christopher, and we begin with that guilty plea in the case that has gripped the nation since UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. He was shot and killed in Midtown Manhattan in December of 2024, nearly 2 years ago. But let's get right to Stephanie Bertini, who is live just outside of the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. This is breaking news, Stephanie. What can you tell us so far?
Hey, I mean, what a major twist in this very high-profile case. So now that we know Mangione has said, yes, I did this, he has pled guilty, the next question is, what happens next? That's basically the big question this afternoon. And I got to tell you, a lot of people have a lot of questions because this case has so much interest from around the world, really. Mangione, he's accused of killing UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. He has now admitted to doing this. He changed his plea to guilty inside Manhattan federal court. That hearing, it wrapped up about 15 minutes ago, and this comes after quite some time of us covering this story, both the federal case and the state case. Major questions on the state case now. We're going to get to that in just a few minutes. I want to bring in our colleague, Antoine Lewis. Antoine, you were inside.
Yes.
You just got out here within the last couple minutes. It wrapped up, what, 15 minutes ago or so, more or
Yeah,
less?
it was around 11:44
Right.
when we were walking out. And just to give you a little bit of a sense of it, we can also let everyone know that the Thompson family was inside the courtroom as well for today's hearing. Luigi Mangione did make statements. He was allowed to basically read aloud, what he's admitting to which he kind of just went through with sentences, just explaining how he came to New York City, how he initially posed as a insurance investor to gain information on a conference that healthcare organizations, including UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, were going to be attending in December. And that's how he was able to find out the location of where Brian Thompson was going to be.
This stuff is very interesting for a lot of people. We got to wrap because the control room is telling me we have a live presser right now. We will come back shortly. Let me throw it back inside. We'll be back in a few.
Certainly. Right now, we're going to take a listen to that presser. This is with the defense team in this Luigi Mangione case. Take a listen.
Isolated event. Mr. Mangione has been unfairly treated since the outset in every way and has successfully fought off terrorism charges and the death penalty, while also fighting at the same time two simultaneous prosecutions in two jurisdictions who are trying to punish him twice for the exact conduct. He's been treated differently from every other defendant charged with this offense in New York. However, thankfully, New York law does not allow this. New York law does not permit a person to be prosecuted and punished twice for the exact same crime under a statute that governs successive prosecutions. It's also known as the double jeopardy law. Today's guilty plea triggers this statute, and we just filed our motion in state court explaining why the state charges must be dismissed under New York's double jeopardy protections. We will not be taking any other questions. Thank you so much for coming.
Madam, does your client have any remorse for the man he shot in the...
And again, that was the defense team for Luigi Mangione in court after he just pled guilty in federal court. And with dueling federal and state cases right now, there's a lot to break down. Criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Peter Frankel joining us right now on the Noon. Peter, how does this guilty plea shape both the state and federal cases moving forward?
Yeah, Ryan, it's a great question. This was referred to as an emergency hearing. This really wasn't an emergency. I think a lot of people expected that at some point Mr. Mangione was going to have to take a plea in this federal case in order to try to trigger double jeopardy, which essentially means the inability of the state prosecution to go forward, to be barred, because he's already pled guilty to the same or similar charges. So what's going to happen now is his defense team is going to file a motion. Obviously, the state is already aware of what's transpired this morning, and their position is going to be that the state indictment has to be dismissed.
And I was going to say that his defense team just mentioned that he did avoid the death penalty. Is that certainly the case here in this federal case? And how could this evolve moving forward? Because, again, we're still dealing with two cases, but you're saying the state case will likely be dropped?
I think it likely will. And you have to remember that notwithstanding what sentence he ends up getting in the federal case and whatever happens in the state case, he was originally charged with a death penalty case in the federal court, as well as a life without parole charge in the state court. Both of those were dismissed. So the defense team was at the point where they were kind of running out of options, and the best option available that was left was to put themselves in a position where they could ask the federal judge, Judge Garnett, for a non-life sentence and also seek at the same time to have the state prosecution dismissed.
Do you think this is the outcome that the defense team was looking for, for lack of better terms, a best case scenario in Luigi's case?
Yeah, you know, I think it's a really good question because there was an overwhelming amount of evidence of guilt in these cases. So for him to think that there was a possibility to go to trial in both cases and being acquitted, I don't think was ever a realistic thought for them. So this is probably ending up where, for at least some period of time, they anticipated that it would be.
And let's also talk about that federal case still moving forward. The date is set for December 18th. Do you think that is still going to move forward? And what do you foresee in a potential sentencing?
So there is going to be a tremendous amount of litigation now, submissions made in the federal case with respect to what each side believes is the appropriate sentence. So there is no longer a mandatory life sentence in federal court for him. His team will put in comprehensive submissions as to what they think is an appropriate sentence in this case. I would not be the least bit surprised if the government asks for a life sentence. And at the end of the day, and I'm sure that Judge Garnett explained this to Mr. Mangione today, it's going to be up to the judge. Nobody can tell him what he's going to get. Only the judge knows. And when she pronounces sentence in December, which will likely happen, everyone will hear at the same time.
All right, thank you very much. Criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Peter Frankel. Now let's listen in to the prosecution. Take a listen.
Stalked and murdered Brian Thompson in cold blood on a public sidewalk in Midtown Manhattan. Just a few moments ago, Mangione pled guilty to his heinous act. This was not a spontaneous act of violence. It was deliberate, calculated, and premeditated. In the days leading up to the murder, the defendant very carefully prepared for the attack. He tracked Mr. Thompson's whereabouts, conducted surveillance along the route he knew Mr. Thompson would take, and positioned himself to carry out the plan. Then, on a sidewalk on West 54th Street, the defendant murdered Mr. Thompson, shooting him from behind with a 9mm handgun equipped with a silencer. He shot Thompson twice at close range. The second shot came as Mr. Thompson turned and faced the defendant. The defendant did this as everyday New Yorkers walked nearby, and while the rest of the city woke up to start their day. Mangione then ran away, leaving Mr. Thompson to die. The defendant committed this murder in an attempt to draw public attention to his dislike of certain businesses. But we live in a civilized society governed by the rule of law. We debate, we disagree, we protest. We do not commit murder. No grievance, political belief, or ideological cause can ever justify murder. There can be no celebrity in assassination. Any person who celebrates, encourages, or excuses actions like these is fundamentally wrong. Mangione attempted to send a public message through violence, but the message that emerges today is very different. Violence is not a legitimate instrument to promote any political or social message. And those who resort to violence in an effort to advance their beliefs will be prosecuted, convicted, and put in jail. Today, the Southern District of New York, together with our law enforcement partners, writes the final chapter of Mangione's federal prosecution. Now, he stands convicted in federal court and faces life in prison. One other point that's important to note. While the defendant pled guilty, our office does not have a plea agreement with him. Instead, he pled open, which means he pled guilty to all pending counts in the indictment. There are no accommodations or concessions, and we are free to seek the maximum penalty under the law. I'd like to thank the dedicated prosecutors of our office's Violent Organizations and Crime Unit, who are beside me, for their remarkable efforts to bring this case. I would also like to thank the NYPD and the FBI, whose tireless and incredibly sophisticated investigative efforts made this conviction possible. Finally, I want to express on behalf of all of us here our deepest sympathy and compassion for the many family members and friends of Brian Thompson. Mr. Thompson's family and many of his friends were in court for the guilty plea today. I know they will have an opportunity to be heard at sentencing. We all stand in awe of their love for their family and for their friend, and their unwavering commitment to seeing justice done in this case. We hope they can take some solace in the fact that from the beginning, we have brought the full force of the federal government to bear in this case. In this prosecution, we have consistently pursued the maximum penalties under the law as necessary and just punishment for these crimes. The result achieved today now allows our office to seek the maximum penalty allowed, life imprisonment, which, as I've conveyed to Mr. Thompson's family, is what we intend to seek. I'll now turn it over to Commissioner Tisch.
Good afternoon. Thank you, U.S. Attorney McDonald, and thank you to the prosecutors and the federal law enforcement partners who have worked alongside the New York City Police Department throughout this case. Today, Luigi Mangione pleaded guilty in connection with the murder of Brian Thompson on a Midtown Manhattan sidewalk in December of 2024. This is an important moment of accountability, and my thoughts remain first and foremost with Mr. Thompson's family and everyone who knew and loved him. But I also want to take a few minutes today to recognize the extraordinary police work that brought us here. From the moment that Mr. Thompson was assassinated on the morning of December 4th, the NYPD mobilized an enormous investigative effort. Our detectives combed through thousands of hours of surveillance video, followed up on hundreds of tips, and worked through an extraordinary volume of forensic and digital evidence. They used some of the most sophisticated technology available to law enforcement, and they paired it with the kind of painstaking, old-fashioned detective work that has defined the New York City Police Department for generations, interviewing witnesses, canvassing neighborhoods, retracing the suspects' movements, and pursuing every viable lead. Most importantly, they developed a clear image of the man we were looking for and got that image out to the public and to law enforcement agencies across this country 5 days after the murder. That work paid off in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where an alert member of the public recognized Mangione and local police took him into custody. That was not simply a lucky break. It was the culmination of 5 days of relentless investigative work that gave the public the information it needed to recognize the suspect and gave our law enforcement partners what they needed to act. This case began with the worst kind of violence on our streets. It was answered by the very best of the New York City Police Department. To every member of the NYPD who played a role in this investigation, you should be enormously proud for bringing us to this day. And to those who idolize Luigi Mangione, I say this: violence is not a cause, murder is not a message, and a killer is certainly not a hero. Now I'd like to introduce the FBI's Assistant Director in charge for the New York Field Office, Jim Barnacle.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good day. My name is James Barnacle. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI New York Field Office. I want to begin by addressing the family, friends, and colleagues of Brian Thompson. We had the chance to sit down with the family this morning, and they are still grieving, and they have been grieving for almost 2 years as Brian was taken away in the most heinous way possible. They lost a son, a brother, a husband, and a father, and a friend, and many colleagues and other people. The family deserves closure, the clarity, and the assurance that every step taken throughout our investigation, the New York City Police Department's investigation, the Altoona Police Department's investigation, and the U.S. Attorney's Office prosecution reflected the gravity of the situation and the importance of Brian's life. While today's plea doesn't replace the void he left behind, I hope it offers a glimmer of the closure that the Thompson family and friends deserve. This tragedy shocked the nation and left a deep impact on everyone it touched. Violence driven by hostility toward opportunity and success stands in sharp contrast to the values true Americans hold dear. But rest assured, this FBI and our partners never stopped working to bring this killer to justice. While a plea was entered today, we know the crime has not been erased. Thank you to the FBI's Violent Crime Task Force, our largest partner on that task force, the New York City Police Department, the New York State Police Department. Thank you to the prosecutors and the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, led by Jamie McDonald. Thank you. And I want to thank the officers and detectives of the New York City Police Department, led by Commissioner Tisch, for your agency's unwavering pursuit of truth and accountability. Thank you, Commissioner. I'd also like to thank the Altoona Police Department in Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, who helped facilitate the extradition to New York. We're incredibly grateful to our partners, and we wish the Thompson family comfort and strength as the legal process continues. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you. Thank you all.
That was a press conference right there, as you heard, a member of the FBI just speaking, saying that he spoke with the family members of Brian Thompson's family this morning. Also, Commissioner Tisch praising the efforts of the NYPD and the prosecutors here in this case, now looking for life in prison. Coming up, more coverage of Luigi Mangione's guilty plea in federal court today, right here in Lower Manhattan. Plus, we're taking a look back at all the twists and turns here in this case that have led up to this very point. We'll have Linda Schmidt coming up next on The Noon. Well, today's guilty plea in federal court for Luigi Mangione is just the latest twist in this ongoing saga that began more than a year and a half ago with the December 2024 shooting of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Fox 5's Linda Schmidt is here on the Noon to take a look back at how this case has unfolded, the manhunt, the media frenzy. Linda, there's been so much focus on this for almost 2 years now. And you were there when it all started, when it unfolded. What's been your takeaway here in this case? It's been so unique.
You know, it really has been unique, and it's hard to believe that in December it's going to be 2 years since this all happened. But what ended up happening here, I'm going to break down the timeline for you. First of all, Luigi Mangione, he arrived here in the city on November 24th. Now, he ended up checking into a hostel on the Upper West Side. This is the video right here of the actual murder and then the crime scene afterwards. That was on December 4. But my point that I want to make here is that he arrived here in the city on November 24th. He was here in the city for 11 days before that murder on December 4th. Now, the reason that the authorities know this is because there is plenty of surveillance video around the city that they were able to glean. And so they have pictures of him at all sorts of locations around the city leading up to the murder on December 4th. Then on December 4th, he goes and he's hanging out outside the Hilton Hotel, and he is waiting for the CEO, UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, to walk to this convention that was being held. And it was 6:45 in the morning. And there he is. And you can see he's got the backpack, he's got the black hoodie on, he's got the gun, and he's pointing it at Brian Thompson's back. He fires several shots and he kills him. This gun also had a silencer on it. This then triggered a nationwide manhunt the very next day on December 5th. And then 4 days later on December 9th, he is recognized in a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. This is one of the reasons he was recognized. These are the only two pictures that authorities have of him without wearing his mask prior to December 9th. And these pictures, Ryan, you and I were talking during the break, these pictures are from when he went into that hostel and he on the Upper West Side, and he had a fake ID. It said that he was from New Jersey. And that there was a fake name attached to it. Well, there was a young woman working behind the counter, and she said, well, I need to see your face
in order
to check you in. And so she's kind of flirting with him, he's kind of flirting with her, and then he says, okay, yeah, I'll remove my mask for you. Removes the mask.
And that was the one frame that police were able to actually...
That was the major undoing for him right there, because it was the only full face exposure that they had of him until he was identified at that McDonald's on December 9th. And then when he's in the McDonald's on December 9th, what ends up happening? There's some elderly folks inside the McDonald's, and they're having coffee, and, you know, they meet once or twice a week there and chit-chat.
As do many McDonald's, right? I mean, that's a regular occurrence.
Yes, you know, especially for some older folks. So anyway, so they're sitting there, and one of those folks recognizes him, goes up to one of the McDonald's employees and says, you know what, that guy sitting at that booth there back in the corner, he looks like that guy that they're looking for
on the news
related to that murder in New York City. That employee then calls 911. Altoona police show up, and then we have that video of a lengthy video from their body cam. So, and that's multiple officers with the Altoona Police Department. And so then they approach him in that Altoona McDonald's. They're questioning him. He's got the backpack there. Inside the backpack is his manifesto, as well as the gun that was used in the murder. And these are two of the pictures right there of him in that McDonald's.
In the McDonald's.
You can see, yeah.
And that's the body cam footage right there, right?
That is, that's the body cam footage, that as well, because there are some pictures of him where he's got the mask on, and then, of course, when he's eating, it looks like he's eating like, what are the home fries?
Oh, yeah, hash brown.
Hash brown. He's eating a hash brown, so, of course, he had to remove his mask there. And then after all of this ended up happening, then he was eventually extradited to New York on December 19th, and that's that video where you see him flanked by all those federal officers, as well as former Mayor Eric Adams.
Certainly.
Brought here to New York, and everything wraps up today. Now we just have to wait for that sentencing.
Yeah, and that's set to go down on December 18th, so in just a little while. But I also have to ask about how he admitted in court not only to the crime, but also the weapon that he used, and sort of an update on how the weapon was actually made.
Well, it ended up being a ghost gun, which is what authorities had said almost from the very beginning. He created it at home with a 3D printer, and then he had a silencer for it. And so that is one of the major reasons that law enforcement all across the country, they're very concerned about these ghost guns. It's a major issue, and it's something that the federal government, as well as the NYPD and local police departments around the country, they're very focused on this issue. This is a classic case involving a ghost gun.
All right, Linda Schmidt, thank you so much for the update. She's been on it since day one. Again, Luigi Mangione pleading guilty in federal court. Now prosecutors searching for life in prison for Luigi Mangione. We'll certainly have more updates here as we continue the noon right here on Fox 5. We'll have the latest on the case of Luigi Mangione. A developing story into our newsroom this afternoon. Shots were fired this morning on Central Park West. One person is now in custody after allegedly engaging in an argument with a man showing a gun and discharging 3 rounds. No one was hit, but the incident did happen just after 8:45 in the morning at Central Park West and West 70th Street. The investigation into this incident is ongoing. All right, and now let's head on over to Long Island. Developing news is President Trump will be on Long Island today, all campaigning with Republican candidate Bruce Blakeman in the race for New York's next governor. Now, the president's visit is being described as a forum on public safety. He'll be visiting the Nassau County Police Academy in Garden City. Yesterday, Blakeman was asked about how some people think that the president's visit can actually hurt his campaign since Trump isn't so popular here in New York.
There are a lot of people in New York who disagree with President Trump's policies, but I think they appreciate the fact that they'll have a governor that can pick up the phone and talk to the president and get instant results.
In terms of battling crime and President Trump's visit, a spokesperson for Governor Kathy Hochul tells the AP, quote, the governor has invested billions of dollars in public safety to protect New Yorkers. MAGA all the way Bruce Blakeman is bringing Donald Trump on a tour of our county where he let violent crime spike in decades high and Trump's unaccountable ICE agents abuse their power. And next at noon, we'll get a check of the forecast and we'll head back out to federal court for more on our top story today, Luigi Mangione's guilty plea in federal court in Lower Manhattan. Stay with us right here on the Noon.